I am Easleep, the storyteller who guides you into rest, with whispers light as the wind and a rhythm gentle as a quiet breath. I'll stay beside you on your journey back to peace after a long day. I wish you a truly good night. Deep, soft and easing. May your tiredness melt away like morning mist, and may sleep come to you as tenderly as a warm blanket. May your night be peaceful, and may you wake with the gentle smile of a new morning. We didn't speak for the rest of the afternoon, not because we were avoiding each other, but because every time I passed his office doorway, he looked up too quickly, and every time his eyes caught mine, he looked away too slowly. It was a kind of dance, one that felt dangerous because neither of us knew who was leading. By 6, most of the building had emptied out. The winter light faded earlier now, turning the office windows into long panels of dark glass that reflected our movements in faint silhouettes. I stayed later than I needed to. So did he. Nobody said it out loud. At 6:52 p.m., I finally shut down my computer, hands trembling with the pretense of normalcy. I grabbed my coat slowly, waiting, hoping for some kind of sign. I didn't hear him approach, but I felt him. His presence always arrived before his voice, a quiet warmth spreading behind me, the faint shift in the air, the way my stomach tightened even before he spoke. Heading out? I turned. He stood a few feet away, hands in his pockets, looking nothing like the composed man he tried to be during the day. His tie was gone, his hair slightly tousled, his expression softer, almost wary. "Yes," I said. It wasn't a lie, but it wasn't the truth either. He nodded once. Something unreadable flickered across his face. "You shouldn't walk out alone this late." His voice was steady, but restrained in a way that felt like it hurt him to say anything at all. I swallowed. "I'm fine." "I know," he paused. Still, he didn't finish the sentence. He didn't need to. I stepped past him, my shoulder brushing his arm. Not on purpose, not quite accidental. His breath hitched, barely audible. A small, involuntary reaction he tried to bury immediately. That sound, it went straight through me. I looked up at him. He was already looking away. The elevator was broken again. Of course it was. The universe had a talent for giving us what we didn't have the courage to ask for. "I'll take the stairs with you," he said quietly. "You don't have to." "I know." We stood there for a moment, the stairwell door in front of us like a threshold neither of us was prepared to cross. The hallway behind us felt too bright, too honest. The stairwell promised shadow, privacy, danger. He opened the door first. The dim light flickered overhead, casting long shadows down the concrete steps. Each echo of our footsteps sounded louder than it should have. The narrowness of the space forced us close, too close. Our shoulders brushed on the first landing. His arm grazed mine on the second. By the third, my breath had turned shallow. He stopped halfway down. I didn't ask why. I already knew. He stood there, one hand on the railing, staring at the wall, like it had answers he couldn't face in me. His chest rose and fell in a slow, deliberate rhythm, as if he was grounding himself against something too strong. When he finally spoke, his voice was low, rough-edged. "This isn't good for either of us." I stepped closer before I could stop myself. "We didn't do anything." "That's the problem," he said. His hand tightened on the railing. The metal creaked. "We didn't. And it's still too much." My heart thudded against my ribs. "I keep replaying yesterday," he said quietly, almost to himself. "Not what almost happened, just the way you looked at me. The way you..." He exhaled. "God, the way you let yourself be near me." I felt heat rising under my skin. Why does his restraint feel more intimate than anything else could? He turned to me then, slowly, like he was afraid of what I'd see in his face. "I'm not a man who gets looked at like that anymore." His voice wavered, not with emotion, with honesty. That was his silent ache again, the unmistakable pain of being a man who had spent years fading into the background of his own life. I stepped closer, close enough that the warmth of his breath reached my lips, close enough that the space between us became a taut, trembling thread. His eyes dropped to my mouth, just briefly, just long enough for something in me to unravel. "I shouldn't want this," he whispered. "You do," I whispered back. His jaw clenched. "Don't make this harder. Haven't you been living hard for years?" The question landed like a blow. His shoulders sagged, his eyes softened. Something inside him cracked just enough for the truth to show through. "I don't remember the last time someone touched me without expecting something," he said quietly. The words hit me so deeply I forgot how to breathe. I reached up and slid my fingers along his forearm. Slow, careful, barely there. He froze. Not because he didn't want it, but because he wasn't used to being wanted. His breath shuddered out of him. He leaned slightly into the touch without meaning to. "Don't!" he started. I barely touched him. But his whole body reacted, every muscle tightening, his breath catching, his eyes closing against the weight of it. "I'm not asking anything from you," I whispered. He opened his eyes slowly, and what I saw in them wasn't desire. It was hunger, starved, aching, half-buried hunger, the kind a man learns to hide so deeply he forgets it exists. "Why are you doing this?" he asked. "Because you're lonely," I said, "and so am I." He flinched like the truth had hit him physically. The stairwell felt too small, the air too warm, my pulse too fast. He reached out, slowly like he was touching fire, and let his fingertips graze my wrist. Just that, barely anything. But it wasn't barely anything. It was everything. My breath broke into a soft, involuntary sound. His hands stilled instantly. He looked at me, the way a man looks at a door he's terrified to open. "Don't do that," he murmured. His voice had changed, lower, rougher. "Do what?" "That." His jaw tightened. "That sound." I felt heat spreading across my skin. He stepped closer, close enough that his chest almost brushed mine, close enough that I could feel the warmth rolling off his body. The railing pressed against my back, grounding me. "I can't handle that," he whispered. "Not from you." My thoughts scattered. Why does his voice make me exhale like this? Why does his breath feel like it's right on my skin? Why can't we stop? He leaned forward, not touching, not crossing the line, just hovering so close that it felt like we were sharing the same breath. "I promised myself I wouldn't do this," he murmured. And now, he didn't move. He didn't breathe. He didn't run. He just said, "I don't know how to walk away from you." We stood there in that narrow stairwell, suspended in the kind of moment that changes everything even though nothing has happened. My heart hammered. His breathing was uneven. The space between us was a live wire. If someone had opened the door, then the whole world would have seen exactly what we were. Two people who had no business wanting each other and no idea how to stop. I should have walked down those stairs alone. I should have broken whatever spell held us there. I should have saved us both. But I didn't. Because for the first time in years, he looked alive. And for the first time in months, I felt seen. And sometimes that's enough to ruin you. I didn't sleep that night. I kept replaying the moment when he stepped back, slowly, like his body was fighting itself. The quiet between us had felt heavier than what we'd almost done. The kind of silence that drags its fingers across your ribs long after you leave the room. I lay awake on my side, staring at the wall, sheets twisted around my legs. My body still carried the echo of his nearness, the warmth of his hands on my waist, the faint tremble in his breath when it brushed my cheek. Why did it feel like he was the one trying to save me, when I was the one destroying him? By morning, I was exhausted and wired, the kind of tired that makes everything too bright and too loud. The office felt unfamiliar that day, too clean, too full of people who had no idea that One hallway, one doorway, one dimly lit room had become a fault line. I didn't see him at first. That almost made it worse. But around noon, while I was pretending to reorganize a stack of reports I had no intention of finishing, I felt his presence before I heard anything. A shift in the air, a weight, a quiet awareness. I turned. He stood in the doorway, not close, not far, just there. His tie was loose, forgotten, his shirt slightly wrinkled in a way that made him look older, softer, unbearably human. His eyes met mine with a hesitation that felt like a hand hovering in the air, uncertain whether to touch or retreat. "Can we talk?" he asked. My pulse jumped. "Here?" "No," he swallowed. "My office, door open." He said the last part like it was a punishment for himself. I followed him down the hallway. Each step felt like a confession. His office, 12:17 p.m. Door open, blinds half drawn, the world outside too bright. He stood behind his desk, hands resting on the back of his chair, shoulders held tightly, as if controlling his body was the only thing keeping him upright. He didn't sit, I did. The distance between us felt like a living thing. "I shouldn't have," he began. "I know," I said. He nodded, but not in agreement, more like resignation. The lines around his mouth tightened. I noticed, for the first time, how tired he looked. Not the kind of tired that sleep fixes, the kind that lingers in a man's bones. He exhaled through his nose, slow and long. "I'm out of practice with things I shouldn't want." The words hit me like a slow, heavy wave, not dramatic, just painfully true. He looked away, fingers gripping the chair until his knuckles went pale. "I'm older than you," he said. It wasn't a warning. It was an apology. "I know," I whispered again. He finally sat, elbows on his desk, hands steepled against his lips. His eyes softened, barely, but enough to break something in me. "You were shaking last night," he said quietly. "So were you." He let out a breath that wasn't quite a laugh, more like a sigh from a place he rarely let anyone see. "I haven't," he paused, choosing his words. "I haven't let someone close in a long time." The ache in his voice was subtle, buried, but real. The kind of confession men his age don't make easily. He continued, eyes fixed on the desk instead of me. "There's a part of getting older that no one prepares you for. Not the body, not the changes, it's the silence. The way people stop looking at you, as if you're still alive." My throat tightened. He lifted his gaze slowly. "And then there's you." I inhaled sharply. His voice deepened, not with desire, but something heavier. "You walked into my office last night, like you still believed I mattered." The words struck deeper than they should have. His jaw tightened immediately after, as if regretting the vulnerability. I leaned forward before I realized I was doing it. "I wasn't pretending," I said. Something flickered in his eyes. Hope, disbelief, guilt. He looked away quickly, breathing slow and heavy. "I don't want to ruin your life," he murmured. "You're not." My voice was too soft, too honest. "I ruin it all by myself." He looked at me then, really looked. His gaze searched my face like he was trying to understand a language he used to know but had forgotten. That was another male, silent ache moment. The way he held my gaze, just 1 second too long, then looked down at his hands as if ashamed of wanting anything. We sat there for a long time, the air thick with everything we weren't saying. The open door felt like a threat. The hallway felt like a stage. He rubbed the back of his neck, the gesture slow, weary, intimate. God, why did that small movement feel like a confession? "Last night meant something to you," I said gently. His eyes lifted. "Yes? Then why are you running from it?" He didn't answer right away. His throat worked as he swallowed. "I'm afraid of needing you." The room felt too small after that. He looked wrecked by his own honesty, shoulders curved inward, hands clasped tightly like he was trying not to shake. God, why does his pain pull me in like this? My hands were trembling again. He noticed. He stood, moved around the desk and sat on the edge near me, still keeping a careful, fragile distance. His knee brushed mine. The contact was small, accidental, but it set off something warm and dangerous inside me. "I didn't touch you on purpose," he said softly, but I didn't move away either. His voice, it was so steady, but beneath it something wavered. "Why did you come to my office at that hour?" he asked quietly. I swallowed. "I think I needed someone who wasn't asking anything from me." "And you thought I wouldn't?" he asked. "No," I whispered. "I thought you'd understand." He closed his eyes like the words hit him somewhere deep. When he opened them, he looked older and younger and heartbreakingly human. "I do," he said. For a moment, neither of us breathed. His hand rested on the desk beside me, not touching but close enough that I felt his warmth. If I moved even an inch, our fingers would graze. I didn't move. Neither did he. Why does it feel like we're holding our breath inside the same mistake? He spoke first, not loud, not dramatic, just honest. "I care about what happens to you," he said. "More than I planned, more than I should." His voice cracked on should. I looked at his face, the soft exhaustion under his eyes, the lines carved by years of carrying too much alone, the restrained longing he didn't know how to hide. He wasn't a man trying to seduce anyone. He was a man who had forgotten how it felt to be wanted, or seen, or held. My voice came out faint. "Are you going to push me away now?" He hesitated. A long, agonizing silence. Then, with a breath that shook, "I'm trying." My heart dropped, so did his gaze. "But," he whispered, "I don't know if I can." He stood abruptly, like staying close to me was dangerous. He walked toward the window, hands on his hips, shoulders rising and falling with each heavy breath. I watched the sunlight catch in his hair, outlining the shape of a man who looked like he'd lost too much already. He didn't turn when he spoke. "I don't want to hurt you." "You're not," I said. He shook his head, quietly, almost defeated. "You don't know that." I stood slowly, my knees unsteady. I approached him, cautious, my footsteps soft against the carpet. I stopped just a breath behind him, close enough to feel the warmth radiating from his back. He didn't move, didn't breathe, didn't run. He just said, barely audible, "Stay there, please." So I did, a foot apart, an entire world between us. He closed his eyes. And in that stillness, that trembling quiet, I understood something I hadn't before. He wasn't afraid of wanting me. He was afraid of what it meant to be wanted back. We didn't speak for the rest of the afternoon. Not because we were avoiding each other, but because every time I passed his office doorway, he looked up too quickly. And every time his eyes caught mine, he looked away too slowly. It was a kind of dance, one that felt dangerous because neither of us knew who was leading. By 6, most of the building had emptied out. The winter light faded earlier now, turning the office windows into long panels of dark glass that reflected our movements in faint silhouettes. I stayed later than I needed to. So did he. Nobody said it out loud. At 6:52 p.m., I finally shut down my computer, hands trembling with the pretense of normalcy. I grabbed my coat slowly, waiting, hoping for some kind of sign. I didn't hear him approach, but I felt him. His presence always arrived. Before his voice, a quiet warmth spreading behind me, the faint shift in the air, the way my stomach tightened even before he spoke. "Heading out?" I turned. He stood a few feet away, hands in his pockets, looking nothing like the composed man he tried to be during the day. His tie was gone, his hair slightly tousled, his expression softer, almost wary. "Yes," I said. It wasn't a lie, but it wasn't the truth either. He nodded once. Something unreadable flickered across his face. "You shouldn't walk out alone this late." His voice was steady but restrained in a way that felt like it hurt him to say anything at all. I swallowed. "I'm fine." "I know." He paused. Still, he didn't finish the sentence. He didn't need to. I stepped past him, my shoulder brushing his arm. Not on purpose, not quite accidental. His breath hitched, barely audible. A small, involuntary reaction he tried to bury immediately. That sound, it went straight through me. I looked up at him. He was already looking away. The elevator was broken again. Of course it was. The universe had a talent for giving us what we didn't have the courage to ask for. "I'll take the stairs with you," he said quietly. "You don't have to." "I know." We stood there for a moment. The stairwell door, in front of us, like a threshold, neither of us was prepared to cross. The hallway behind us felt too bright, too honest. The stairwell promised shadow, privacy, danger. He opened the door first. The dim light flickered overhead, casting long shadows down the concrete steps. Each echo of our footsteps sounded louder than it should have. The narrowness of the space forced us close. Too close. Our shoulders brushed on the first landing. His arm grazed mine on the second. By the third, my breath had turned shallow. He stopped halfway down. I didn't ask why. I already knew. He stood there, one hand on the railing, staring at the wall, like it had answers he couldn't face in me. His chest rose and fell in a slow, deliberate rhythm, as if he was grounding himself against something too strong. When he finally spoke, his voice was low, rough-edged. "This isn't good for either of us." I stepped closer before I could stop myself. "We didn't do anything." "That's the problem," he said. His hand tightened on the railing. The metal creaked. "We didn't, and it's still too much." My heart thudded against my ribs. "I keep replaying yesterday," he said quietly, almost to himself. "Not what almost happened. Just the way you looked at me. The way you..." He exhaled. "God, the way you let yourself be near me." I felt heat rising under my skin. Why does his restraint feel more intimate than anything else could? He turned to me then, slowly, like he was afraid of what I'd see in his face. "I'm not a man who gets looked at like that anymore." His voice wavered, not with emotion, with honesty. That was his silent ache again, the unmistakable pain of being a man who had spent years fading into the background of his own life. I stepped closer, close enough that the warmth of his breath reached my lips, close enough that the space between us became a taut, trembling thread. His eyes dropped to my mouth, just briefly, just long enough for something in me to unravel. "I shouldn't want this," he whispered. "You do," I whispered back. His jaw clenched. "Don't make this harder." "Haven't you been living hard for years?" The question landed like a blow. His shoulders sagged, his eyes softened. Something inside him cracked just enough for the truth to show through. "I don't remember the last time someone touched me without expecting something," he said quietly. The words hit me so deeply I forgot how to breathe. I reached up and slid my fingers along his forearm, slow, careful, barely there. He froze, not because he didn't want it, but because he wasn't used to being wanted. His breath shuddered out of him. He leaned slightly into the touch without meaning to. "Don't," he started. I barely touched him, but his whole body reacted, every muscle tightening, his breath catching, his eyes closing against the weight of it. "I'm not asking anything from you," I whispered. He opened his eyes slowly, and what I saw in them wasn't desire. It was hunger, starved, aching, half-buried hunger, the kind a man learns to hide so deeply he forgets it exists. "Why are you doing this?" he asked. "Because you're lonely," I said. "And so am I." He flinched like the truth had hit him physically. The stairwell felt too small, the air too warm, my pulse too fast. He reached out slowly, like he was touching fire, and let his fingertips graze my wrist. Just that. Barely anything. But it wasn't barely anything. It was everything. My breath broke into a soft, involuntary sound. His hands stilled instantly. He looked at me the way a man looks at a door he's terrified to open. "Don't do that," he murmured. His voice had changed, lower, rougher. "Do what?" "That," his jaw tightened. "That sound." I felt heat spreading across my skin. He stepped closer, close enough that his chest almost brushed mine, close enough that I could feel the warmth rolling off his body. The railing pressed against my back, grounding me. "I can't handle that," he whispered. "Not from you." My thoughts scattered. Why does his voice make me exhale like this? Why does his breath feel like it's right on my skin? Why can't we stop? He leaned forward, not touching, not crossing the line, just hovering so close that it felt like we were sharing the same breath. "I promised myself I wouldn't do this," he murmured. And now? He didn't move. He didn't breathe. He didn't run. He just said, "I don't know how to walk away from you." We stood there in that narrow stairwell, suspended in the kind of moment that changes everything, even though nothing has happened. My heart hammered. His breathing was uneven. The space between us was a live wire. If someone had opened the door then, the whole world would have seen exactly what we were. Two people who had no business wanting each other and no idea how to stop. I should have walked down those stairs alone. I should have broken whatever spell held us there. I should have saved us both. But I didn't. Because for the first time in years, he looked alive. And for the first time in months, I felt seen. And sometimes that's enough to ruin you. I didn't see him for the next 3 days, which shouldn't have bothered me, which absolutely did. Every time I passed his office, the door stayed half open. Like he'd been there, but not really. Like he was holding his breath in the doorway of his own life. I told myself I was being dramatic, that he wasn't avoiding me, that he wasn't replaying that night the way I was, the way my body betrayed me every time I remembered how close his breath had been to my skin. But on the 4th evening, when everyone else had gone home and the city lights had sunk into their familiar blur, I found him exactly where I knew he'd be, sitting in the dark. Only the blinds half drawn, only the streetlights brushing thin gold across his shoulders. He didn't turn when I stepped inside. "Are you hiding?" I murmured. "Or thinking?" His voice was low, coarse. "Both." I closed the door gently, as if I were stepping into something sacred. Or dangerous. Maybe both. He exhaled, long and slow, like he'd been holding it for days. "I wasn't sure you'd come," he said. "I wasn't sure you wanted me to." A faint smile touched his mouth. The kind of smile that had more pain than amusement. "You don't understand," he said. "I want too much." He rubbed his forehead with the heel of his hand, as if trying to press the desire out of himself. As if it were a fever he'd been ashamed to admit he had. I moved closer, not touching him, just near enough for the room to shift around us. "I've been thinking about that night," I whispered. His hand stilled. He didn't ask which part. He didn't need to. Silence stretched between us. Tight, trembling, electric. Then he said, barely audible, "I shouldn't have held you like that." "Now you didn't hold me," I said. "You steadied me." He laughed under his breath. "That's not what I meant." I felt it then. The weight of his restraint, the battle inside him, the way he held every emotion like it might collapse the world if he let it loose. "You think," I asked softly, "that I didn't feel it too?" He looked at me for the first time that night. Really looked, like he was letting himself see me again, the way he wasn't supposed to. "You're young," he said. "You're unbroken. You have a life that isn't clawing at you from the inside." "I'm not unbroken," I whispered. "And you're not old." "That's generous. It's true." He leaned back, eyes drifting toward the city lights again. "When you walked out that night," he said, "I realized how long it's been since someone wanted to stay." His voice cracked on the last word, only slightly, but enough to make my chest tighten. "I would have stayed," I said. He closed his eyes. Exactly. The silence that fell between us wasn't empty. It was thick, crowded with everything we didn't say. I stepped closer, not touching him, not yet, but close enough that he could feel the shift in the air, the warmth of me, the danger of what we were doing. His breath hitched faintly. "Tell me to go," I whispered. He opened his eyes slowly, like waking from something heavy. "I can't." I felt something inside me unravel, something I hadn't realized was knotted. "Then don't," I whispered. For a moment, neither of us moved. His hand hovered in the space between us, not touching, just trembling, with the urge to. I felt heat rush through my chest, my throat, the back of my neck. "Don't look at me like that," he murmured. "Like what?" "Like you already know what I'm fighting." "I do." His jaw tightened. His voice lowered. "And you're still here?" My heart pulsed hard once, then twice. "I'm still here," I said, "because it feels like the first time in a long time that someone sees me." His breath shattered softly. He looked at me with a kind of hunger that was not physical first. It was emotional, starved, aching, devastating. The kind of hunger a man carries after years of silence. The kind of hunger he tries to hide, even from himself. "If I let myself have this," he murmured, "I won't be able to pretend afterward." "Then don't pretend." His throat worked as he swallowed. "Stay," he whispered. Barely audible, like a sin or a confession. And I did. I stood there with him, close enough to feel the heat of his restraint, close enough to sense the tremor in his breath, but not crossing the line. Not yet. Just two people suspended in a moment that felt like the edge of something irreversible. A moment we both knew we would fall into, soon. I don't know who moved first. Maybe it was me. Maybe it was him finally giving up on the lie that he didn't want this. All I know is that one moment there was a breath of distance between us, and the next that distance was gone. He didn't touch me. Not really. But he stood so close that I felt the warmth from his chest brush the front of mine, the way heat radiates before contact. It wasn't a touch. It was a promise of one. His eyes were the first thing to break. Not his voice, not his posture. His eyes. Something in them cracked open. A quiet devastation, a longing he'd hidden so long it had its own gravity. "Don't look at me like that," he whispered again. "Like I want you?" I said softly. "No." His breath trembled. "Like you already forgive me for wanting you back." The confession landed between us like a fault line. I felt my pulse thrum hard at the base of my throat. "You make it sound like wanting is a sin. For someone like me?" He exhaled sharply through his nose. "It might be. Don't say that." He looked down, as if ashamed of having said anything at all. But then, slowly, his hand lifted a few inches, hovering near my waist. Not touching, just trying to understand whether he was allowed to exist in that space. His restraint was so intense it felt physical. "Why are you shaking?" I whispered. "Because," he said, barely audible, "this is the closest I've come to wanting something I can't have. And not walking away from it." His hand hovered, a breath away from me, a ghost of a touch. "Touch me," I said. Not a demand, a confession. His jaw clenched, his throat worked. He looked like the request physically hurt him. "I can't." "Why?" "Because if I touch you..." His voice broke softly, raw and unguarded. "I won't stop there." Something deep inside me tightened at his honesty. His hand lowered, not onto me, but to his side again, fingers curling into a fist, as if he were physically restraining himself. "This is impossible," he murmured. "It doesn't feel impossible." "That's what makes it dangerous." I swallowed. Tell me what you're afraid of. He gave a faint, humorless smile. You mostly. Me? You make me remember I'm still alive, he said. And I had made peace with not being that anymore. The words hit me so hard I almost stepped back. Instead, I moved closer. Tiny, barely perceptible, but enough that I felt his breath catch. Look at me, I whispered. He did, slowly, like it cost him something. I don't want you to make peace with silence, I said. I don't want you to go back to being numb. His eyes softened, and then darkened, as if a shadow of desire crossed over them. You don't know what you're saying. I know exactly what I'm saying. For the first time, he reached for me, not to pull me close, but to keep me from stepping closer again. His fingers circled my wrist, gentle, warm, barely there. But that small touch felt like the most intimate thing in the world. He closed his eyes at the contact, like it overwhelmed him. Please, he said under his breath. Don't let this be the thing that breaks you. I'm not breaking. You might. Then let me break. His eyes opened quickly, pained, startled, wanting. Don't say things like that, he murmured. Why? Because I'll believe you. He released my wrist slowly, the warmth of his fingers lingering like a memory that didn't want to fade. I didn't move, neither did he. We stood in that charged, aching closeness. Two people pretending they weren't about to fall into something irreversible. Finally, he whispered, if I let myself have this night, even just the smallest part of it, I won't be able to go back to the man I've been. Maybe that's the point. Had his breath shook, just once. You don't understand what you're asking. I do, I said, and I'm still here. He looked at me for a long time, long enough for the air between us to thicken, long enough for my heartbeat to sync with his uneven breathing. Then he whispered, almost pained, God, you have no idea how much I want to fall. I swallowed hard. Then fall. His eyes closed, not to shut me out, but because he couldn't bear how much he wanted to listen. When he opened them again, they were darker, softer, more dangerous. He stepped closer, so close the air changed between us, so close I felt my whole body respond to the gravity of him. But he didn't touch me. He only whispered, this for her, right here, is the last moment before we cross the line. Heartbeat, silence, heat. Then, if we take one more step, I won't be able to pretend it was an accident. I breathed out, trembling. Then don't pretend. And he broke. Not into action, but into admission. Stay, he whispered again, voice rough with surrender. Stay with me a little longer. So I did, and the line between us trembled. He didn't touch me at first. He just stood there, breathing like he was trying to hold something inside that didn't want to be held anymore. The office felt smaller than it had an hour ago, the dark window behind him reflecting our shapes like we were already caught. I don't know what changed. Maybe nothing, maybe everything. But when he finally spoke, his voice sounded like it came from a place he'd been hiding for years. I don't get to want things, he murmured. Yes, you do. He shook his head slowly, eyes dropping to the floor. Not like this. Then why are you still standing here? His breath left him, heavy and unsteady. Because walking away from you. He paused, searching for the right words, painfully real ones. Feels worse than doing the wrong thing. Something in me softened and tightened at the same time. I stepped toward him, one careful inch, and his hand lifted automatically like he was going to stop me. But he didn't. His hand hovered near my hip again, trembling once, then pulling back as if burned. That restraint, that impossible, painful restraint, was somehow more intimate than any touch. You make it so hard to be good, he whispered. I'm not asking you to be good. He looked up sharply at that, like he'd heard something he wasn't ready for. I swallowed. I'm asking you to be honest. He went very still. Honest, he repeated softly, as if that's easier. It's not, but it's real. His eyes moved over my face, slowly, almost cautiously, like he was memorizing something he believed he wouldn't get to see again. Then he said the thing that undid me. "You look at me like I didn't waste years of my life." I felt something inside me fold in on itself. "You didn't waste anything." He gave a short, pained laugh. "Yes, I did. I wasted entire decades trying not to feel anything at all. And now you do." His jaw clenched. "That's the problem." He stepped closer, a small step, but a decisive one. So the air between us warmed, shifted, and became charged with a kind of quiet hunger no one had spoken aloud yet. We were close enough that I felt his breath against my cheek, steady, then not steady at all. He whispered, "I'm not supposed to want to touch you." "Then don't touch me," I said quietly. "Just stop pretending you don't want to." His breath caught, audibly, the smallest sound, but it felt like a surrender. He didn't touch me, but he leaned in just enough that the front of his shirt brushed the soft fabric covering my chest. A whisper of contact, accidental in intention but not in meaning. My breath hitched. His did too. He closed his eyes at the closeness, a soft, helpless exhale escaping him. "God," he whispered, "you make it impossible to breathe, then breathe through me." His eyes opened slowly, darkened by a longing he had no defenses left against. "You don't understand what you're doing to me." "I do." "No," he said quietly. "You don't. Not really." "What am I doing?" "You're waking up parts of me that were supposed to stay buried." His voice trembled on that last word. Buried. Without thinking, my hand lifted. I brushed the back of my fingers against his forearm. A feather-light touch. Nothing explicit, nothing bold. But he inhaled sharply at the contact, his whole body tightening for just a moment. He whispered, "Don't." "Why?" "Because I don't want this to be the first thing I take from you." "It's not taking," I said. "It's sharing." "Sharing," he echoed. "As if this isn't going to cost us both something?" His restraint was cracking. I could feel it, see it, hear it. That older man ache, that quiet, lonely, starving ache, was no longer hidden. It hovered right under his voice, his breath, the way his hand kept lifting, freezing, lowering. "Tell me what you want," I whispered. He shook his head again, but slower this time, more defeated than defiant. "I can't." "Why not?" "Because I want the things a man my age shouldn't want anymore." I stepped closer until my forehead almost touched his. "Say it." He swallowed hard. "You," he whispered. "God help me. I want you." The truth rippled between us. Dangerous, raw, irreversible. I felt something inside me break open too. I whispered, "Then have me." His breath stuttered, just once, and something inside him fractured in a way that felt like surrender. He didn't kiss me. He didn't touch me. But he lifted his hand, finally, and placed it at the side of my waist. Barely there, warm, careful. A man touching something fragile after years of not trusting his own hands. His thumb grazed the fabric, slow, hesitant, reverent. I trembled. He murmured, "Tell me to stop." "I won't. Please," he whispered. "If you don't stop me now, I won't be able to stop myself later." "Then don't." He closed his eyes, a soft sound breaking in his throat, almost pain, almost relief. I knew I was crossing a line I wouldn't come back from, but I wanted him more than I wanted my innocence. When he opened his eyes again, he whispered, "This is the moment we stop lying." I nodded, and he let his forehead rest gently against mine. A touch so intimate, so human, it shattered something inside both of us. We stood there breathing the same air, holding the same ache, waiting for gravity to take us. And when it did, it wasn't gentle. It was necessary. I don't remember moving. I remember breathing, shallow, uneven, matching his. I remember the sound of the city outside the glass, distant and indifferent. I remember the weight of the moment, the gravity pulling us towards something neither of us could name out loud. But I don't remember the first contact. All I know is that suddenly his hands were on my arms, gentle, trembling, the way you touch a wound you hope won't bleed if you're careful enough. He wasn't pulling me in. He was steadying himself, as if I was the thing keeping him upright. He whispered, Don't let this ruin you. It won't. It might. I'm the one choosing it. His breath left him, like that was the thing he'd been afraid to hear. He lowered his forehead to mine again, that soft, devastating touch. And for a long moment, we just stood there, breathing the truth neither of us could walk away from. This shouldn't be happening, but it already was. He lifted his hand and touched the side of my face, slowly, with a reverence that felt almost painful. His thumb traced the line of my cheek, then paused near my mouth. I felt his restraint in every inch of him, older, wiser, broken in quiet ways a younger man wouldn't understand. He whispered, I don't know how to be gentle with this. You are being gentle. You don't know how much I'm holding back. His voice cracked, just slightly, and the sound tore through me. He drew in a breath like he was about to step off a ledge. Then he kissed me, not hungrily, not greedily, not like a man claiming something forbidden. He kissed me like someone who'd been living underwater for years and finally broke the surface, slow, uncertain, desperate in the softest way. His lips were warm, hesitant at first, and then deeper, not in pressure but in meaning. My hand slid up his shirt, over the lines of his chest, the tension in his shoulders, the warmth of a man who carried loss like a second skin. He exhaled shakily against my mouth, a sound that didn't belong to desire so much as to grief. A decades-old grief finally letting itself be held. He murmured, Tell me this isn't real. It's real. He kissed me again, longer, slower, like he needed to memorize the shape of it. His hands moved to my back, sliding up my spine, pulling me close with a kind of aching care that made the whole room tilt. I could feel the years in him, the silence, the loneliness, the hunger to be seen. He carried them in the way his arms wrapped around me, in the trembling that betrayed how long he'd gone without softness. He whispered into my mouth, I don't know how to want gently, then want honestly. His breath hitched, and then it changed. His restraint loosened, not all at once, but in small, breaking increments, like a man finally letting go of a weight he'd carried too long. He pulled me closer, his hands rougher now, his breath unsteady. My head fell back and a sound escaped me, soft, surprised, involuntary. He froze. You okay? His voice was tight, almost pained. Yes, I breathed. Don't stop. He let out a shaky exhale, a sound halfway between relief and surrender. Then the moment deepened. Not into anything explicit, but into a closeness that felt dangerously intimate. More intimate than anything physical could have been. His hands, his breath, the way he held the back of my head, pulling me into him like he was afraid I'd disappear. I felt the tremble in him every time he drew me closer. The hesitation in his fingers, the way he'd start to move, and then stop, as if afraid to overwhelm me, or himself. He whispered my name once, as if it hurt to say it. I shouldn't want this, but his wanting made me feel alive. At some point, I don't know when, we ended up against the wall beside the window. His hand braced beside my head, his body close enough that my breath caught. He wasn't forceful. He wasn't dominating. He was holding back so fiercely that the restraint itself felt like its own kind of intimacy. His forehead pressed to my shoulder as he whispered, This isn't who I'm supposed to be. It's who you are with me. That scares me. It scares me too. He lifted his head and his eyes looked wrecked, not from desire, from feeling something he'd spent years avoiding. He kissed me again, slow, drawn out, trembling at the edges, and the room felt too small to hold everything inside us. Time blurred, the air thickened. The world outside faded into a dim reflection in the glass. When he finally pulled back, his breath was unsteady. his hand still cupping the sides of my face. He looked at me the way a man looks at something he knows he can't keep. Soft, haunted, grateful, devastated. He whispered, "What have we done?" I swallowed. "Something we can't undo." He closed his eyes, exhaling, as if that truth hurt more than anything else. "And what happens now?" he asked. I didn't answer, because we both already knew. There would be consequences. There would be guilt. There would be nights where the memory of this one burned too bright to forget, and days where reality demanded we pretend nothing happened. But for this moment, this single, fragile, dangerous moment, we didn't lie. We didn't run. We didn't numb ourselves. We were two broken people who met at the exact wrong time and somehow found the one thing we both thought we'd lost. Someone who saw us. Someone who held us. Someone who needed something soft to fall against. He rested his head against mine, breathing me in, quietly, as if committing me to memory. And in the softest, most human voice I'd ever heard from him, he said, "I wish I'd met you in a life where I deserved you." Tears stung my eyes. I whispered back, "I wish you'd met me in a life where you didn't feel so alone." We stood there in silence, warm, trembling, hurting, held together by a night we had no right to share. I knew it couldn't last, but for one impossible night, we saved each other.